Hey everyone, welcome back. It is Wes with Pikes Peak Trades and excited again, as always, but after an even more exciting week here in the markets that ended June 23rd, 2023. I want to start by just giving you a quick recap of what I had you prepare for and what I was prepared for and prepared for in my trading group coming into this week by just recapping for you quickly some things from last week's video and then comparing it to where we are right now. And then I will talk a little bit about my current view on whether that pullback that I called for a week ago, whether I think that is done or whether I think we're going to be looking at a little bit more selling. Now, of course, we've also got potentially a very significant event with news coming out of a possible coup in Russia. I'll mention that when we get into it. But for right now, I want to take you back and just have you listen to me for just a little bit in time here from last week's video. Finishing trading June 16th, 2023. And if the intro music caught your attention, I think we're in for possibly some of the best short-term shorting setups that I've seen in a while. So I think it's possible that we get a week, maybe even it spills into 2 weeks worth of weakness in the markets. And I'm going to show you some really great opportunities, I think, where I think the easy money to the upside, at least in this initial part of the bullish impulse, has been made. And I think there's going to be opportunities for shorting coming up here. Okay, so you heard that intro that was clearly given, calling for a week's worth, possibly 2 weeks worth of weakness. And we're looking right here at my chart of the S&P 500 that I gave to you on Friday, showing you that I thought that that top was in, giving you a projection here coming down. And now let's go see how that turned out. Okay, so here we are looking at the result of what I had posted, and I had shown you up until this point right here with that move down clearly shown to you on that chart. And what did we get on Tuesday after that 3-day market holiday? We got a gap down. We got another gap down. That gap came close to filling on the S&P. It did fill elsewhere, and then another gap down again on Friday. So the call for this pullback was completely accurate. The targets have just been right there. I could go on and on and on through that video and show you the cues, show you the individual stocks like Square, like Roku, etc., like Microsoft. And that's really going to take us into the question is this pullback that I called for and that we nailed multiple times with trading at the PPT Discord, is it done? So I do have that possibility in place here at this purple wave 4. But what I think I'm seeing and where I'm going to show you my primary view market wide is I actually think that we're due for a little more selling. And I can show you that here in the S&P that I think we had moving into Thursday's close. We had a bearish rising wedge, and that certainly came out to some weakness. We had global PMI that came out really weak. We had Japan and China certainly opened with weakness and sustained that on Friday. And then what I think happened after that low was set is I think just a bearish 3 waves up. Now, in order for you really here to believe that this is something bullish, you're going to have to believe that this move from Friday's low, opening low, into this move on the S&P, sorry, not on the S&P, but on the Qs, is actually impulsive. And I think since S&P made that lower low right before the close on Friday, I think it is leading some weakness down. We saw IWM just with a massive fall, invalidating what I'm going to show you was my most bullish count. And so I just think we've got another weight of evidence here that the selling is not in. Okay, now whether that is going to be sparked on by what is going on right now in Russia, I just don't know. And I've seen perspective on both sides. So I did short the close. I took puts into the close. I had no knowledge of what was going on with the potential coup. I was just looking at this continuation setup to try to finish these typical fib zones that we would usually see in what I'm counting for the most part as degree 4 pullbacks here in SPX and the QQQs. It's possible that this coup, if Putin's overthrown and it results in an immediate ceasefire or end of the war in Ukraine, that this is incredibly bullish. Okay, so we do have to leave the possibility that even though I thought market structure and the weight of evidence was bearish, an event like this could throw a wrench into that whole thing. I didn't think that this closing structure at the end of the day, Friday, was bullish. But again, news in this case of that magnitude could in fact trump that. Okay, I do want to show you just a little bit. We're not going to go through all time frames like I normally do. We did lose on both the S&P and the Qs this key 8-day EMA, and that is my trend following EMA. And when that is lost, and it was actually lost for a day, recovered Thursday, then lost again Friday. When that starts to get lost, that tells me that there's a possible short-term trend change coming. Just another piece of evidence that I think could send the S&P down into the lower 4,300s. While we're here on the daily, let's take a look at the Qs. And you're going to see on the Qs, there was a very red day Wednesday. Then we had a bullish engulfing candle on Thursday. And if you only went by that single day candle, you would have longed into a very bearish setup. And let me show you that. Here is that rising wedge setup that resulted in Friday's gap down. And unfortunately, I was on vacation and out of range of all data and was not able to actually position myself for that gap down. But this was a bearish structure with overthrow. They typically pull back quickly, which is what it did. Okay, now here's where we get to that interesting place. And like oftentimes happens at key inflection points in the market, there is a nested bullish setup here in QQQ because that opening low on Friday, it did not break the low from Thursday. Okay, now you're going to have to believe that this is a 1-2 and that this move from Friday's open into early afternoon is actually 5 waves up. Now, I'm not extremely confident that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what you kind of have to believe for that to be an impulse, and that this is not a steep selling leg, but rather this is actually all of a double higher low nested 1-2. And this, again, like I said, it does have to be there in case what we're actually going to see resolve itself out over in Russia and Ukraine this weekend is actually taken extremely bullishly by the market. So I had to chuckle to myself here as I reviewed things before this video. By the way, this is recorded Friday night after the close, where we don't really have a lot of information yet at this time about what's going to happen with that potential geopolitical event. But I then thought to myself, I possibly I shorted into either a limit down or a limit up in futures on Sunday night. So I think either way, it is going to be extremely exciting. But I also don't think we should be surprised at where the market left us with a 3 move. It's either a 3 up. It's going to be big. This is a big deal. And listen, the waves were leading it. I can't say which way I think it's going to go for sure. From the S&P, I think from IWM, I think from growth, I think down, we have that 3 down possibility as well. And if that does play out, I do think it could get pretty nasty for selling here in a hurry. Okay, I do want to get through some of these individual big names in big tech, but I want to take you through XLF and IWM first, because what happened today in IWM was significant. That it did break the most immediate bullish outcome that I had in place on my chart. You're not going to see the detail on the weekly, but I did want to point out that on the weekly, this is a bears in control candle where you open near the high of the week. Although there was a gap down, it bounced a little bit on Monday. And then you move down steadily, and it very, very nearly closed on its very lows on Friday. That is not a good look, and it's also below that key 50-week SMA. Now, I get you into the daily. I've already changed the details here. So when I show you the corresponding chart on XLF, I'm going to explain what exactly happened. This move right here into this candle, and you could interpret that bullishly if you wanted as an inverted hammer. It doesn't look that great to me, although it did hold above the 200 SMA. It traded into the price high here. So what we're unable to do is count this as a wave 4. We can't count 1, 2, 3, 4 because within a larger degree 3 of proposed 4 can't trade into a 1. What I see I'm forced to do, and this again to me lowers the probability of bullish resolution, is I'm forced to move the end of this minor 2 into a truncated zigzag. And that when you're forced to kind of dig into a creative outcome for a potential directional move, that lowers the probability. I'm not saying that it is disallowed. It is allowed for a truncation here. That then allows all of this move to be then 5 waves up. So a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, followed by a very sharp and steep wave 2 pullback. Now, I haven't placed yet any more bearish outcome than this just pulling further back towards that early May low. If futures open deeply, deeply red, well below 176 at this key fib on IWM, then I do think at that point, what we're looking at is from that October low is 3 waves up and then 5 down and another 3 up, and we could get that potentially nasty resolution. Now, I'm speculating here, but I have said in multiple prior weekend videos that I think the only thing that could derail what I am viewing as a fresh bull market is a major, major black swan type event. A geopolitical scary outcome in Russia and Ukraine would certainly do that. But again, want to offer that to you that this could be potentially a massive bullish catalyst. So as it is oftentimes around key junctures, this is going to be a binary resolution, and we're really just going to have to wait and see what happens over the weekend, and then how things respond financially Sunday night into Monday morning. Okay, I showed you, or I indicated that it was really XLF here that kind of held the key to me explaining the violation. Now, this is the old version of counting, and I want this here so you can see what has to change. This 4 within this bigger 3 cannot trade into the price high of this 1, and it just did it. So what I'm going to do here, just for a little bit of education, is this is forced to be deleted. It has to. And then in a similar way here to IWM, that this low of minute degree has to move over in a similar way to truncation. And again, I don't like having to kind of dig into that bag of tricks, so to speak. It's not a trick. It is a part of Elliott wave theory. But again, I do think it lowers the probability of the result. What that is then going to require is now going to require here that all of this move from the 1st of June is now a 1-2 to rise up and meet this fib. So let me now show you what that would look like under that correct labeling. That we just had another 0.618 touch on XLF that held the very, very key 50-day SMA here. And then what we're going to see is we're going to see a massive move up here in financials if, in fact, we do get a bullish resolution out of this weekend. Okay, so again, I want to be clear that the possibility is there, even within this binary environment, that we do get the very surprising bullish resolution. And I actually do see financials here as possibly being the beneficiary in a big way of a a bullish resolution from this weekend. Okay, could show you DIA as well, because it would be in a very similar pattern here, where we had off of the March lows a 1-2, then another 1-2. We have a doji candle above the key 50 SMA, and this could be done. Okay, it could be done. It's possible that all of this on Friday's low is actually the low in place, and this was kind of one of those leading diagonals that resulted in a midday sell-off, but it held the daily low, and then we get up and out of this potential here selling channel, and then we move strongly above 339, and maybe that low is actually in. Okay, but staying consistent to what I've shown on the Qs and what I've also shown here on the S&P is I don't think it's done. So I do here have a 1-2 into a 3 down setup, and that would be more like what I'm seeing here market wide. Okay, so other one I do want to take a look at here is ARKK. So let me get you into ARKK. And I had talked last weekend about ARKK, 7 green weeks in a row. Is it going to hold for an 8th? I said no last week, and I was right, down nearly 5%. The question is it done? Is that all of the selling that we're going to see here in ARKK? And there is the possibility that we did reach a shallow bullish 0.382 fib in growth, and then if there's bullish resolution and the financial markets respond in a positive way, that could be a massive catalyst for growth stocks, and we move up aggressively. But again, at least for the details of what I'm going to show, is I do think weakness, at least at this point, based on what I'm just seeing from Friday, resolution down is more likely. And you're going to see that in 2 possible ways, where we could have a 1, 2, 3, 4 down into a 5 that's overlapping. This 3 was shorter than 1, and so that is actually limited at 41.14. So if we do get the very poor market resolution and 41.14 on ARKK breaks, the white count as labeled is not valid, and then what we're actually going to end up looking for there, let me see if I can move that down slightly. There we go. We're actually going to end up seeing a much more bearish immediate wave down into a lower fib for that particular wave 2. Okay, now want to go back and talk about big tech, okay, because this is the one with the most interesting potential bullish setup. I really think that it is this chart right here that captures the binary nature and the unknown possibility that's out there going into this weekend. If we get a nasty market response, we're likely going to gap down well below 360, and then we're looking here into the mid 350s before possibly a bounce and a resolution. Okay, the bullish case again, that would be a big gap up, likely above 365, and then that's going to be your signal. At that point, the market is sending its message. It is telling you the resolved direction, and you get on board. Okay, you don't fight it. It's going to be big. We'll find out on Monday. You don't fight it, and then in that case, right around here, almost 366, you get on board, because we're likely going much, much higher in the very short term. Okay, but again, remember, I'm making my decisions Friday afternoon, and I'm making this video Friday evening, just a few hours after the close. I'm only looking at these charts and without really any extra information, and I see a name like Tesla, and I think it's telling me the resolution is going to be down. That's just the weight of evidence approach here. Okay, so I'm seeing an A wave down. Here's that Thursday rising wedge into weakness, and I'm seeing a 1-2, 1-2 nest to the downside. Okay, so I see a bearish setup right now in Tesla that I wouldn't have even talked about anyone thinking to be bearish in Tesla really for months. And so I'm suggesting right here, if Tesla is going to fall, this is the kind of setup where it's going to happen. Got to show you Microsoft. Okay, so Microsoft in here as well. This is extremely interesting. Microsoft, more than any other stock, within big tech, it mirrors and follows QQQ way more than Apple. Okay, I'll show you the Apple chart here in a bit. You're not going to see this kind of correlation. Take a look at this in Microsoft and take a look at this in the Qs. Wow, hardly different at all. Okay, and Apple is weighted more heavily than Microsoft in the Qs. So I think what Microsoft is showing us is the exact same binary setup. Now it closed right here, just barely under what I have as a potential bearish neckline of a Head and Shoulders. And the break is going to be big if it happens. I think you could see Microsoft lose $8 to $10 in a hurry on Monday morning if we get that nasty resolution. Otherwise, here's what you needed to believe is that this higher low led to another double higher low, but that this move right here was actually impulsive. In my view, it was not. Okay, so without any knowledge of a potential negative catalyst geopolitically, my view was that this was setting up to be short. Okay, and we're going to see Sunday night, Monday morning, and I've said those of you that know me well and are in my Discord and have been following and learning, even talking about things philosophically, that I think the waves do lead the news, and the market was setting itself up for something big this weekend. Okay, let's take a look at a few others, and we've got to take a look at Apple. Okay, because Apple did not have any significant selling at all this week. And if we're going to get that bad resolution, Apple is going to be the last to fall. It's set on Friday another all-time high. And if we get that resolution, it is of a minor degree 3. And I've got some fibs down here, 177 all the way down to about 173 for a pullback target in Apple. But again, off of the weekly low, we've got the nested 1-2. Okay, so really, really interesting out there. And I mean, goodness, from I think you're a human participating in this world, you should be very interested in what's going to happen this weekend. I mean, millions of lives are going to be affected, and possibly this is going to result in just massive implications worldwide, one way or another, and we just don't know yet. Maybe if you end up watching this on Sunday afternoon or Sunday night, you're already going to know what's going to happen. And at this point, from my point of view, I'm just laying out what I see here as evidence on Friday. Okay, some other things you might be curious about, that Amazon did potentially reach here a minute degree 3 high, and looking for Amazon to sell into here as well for GOOG. I've got that fleshed out a little bit more of the potential of a nested bearish 1-2 down. I do have it either way on GOOG, even if we resolve bullishly. Well, if there's a big gap up, this probably isn't correct, and we hit a shallow 0.5 fib here, and then this was actually a 1-2 up and out of this potential bull flag here about 125. That's going to be the trigger for you to get long on Google. Otherwise, I think we'll know immediately whether or not that weekly low is actually going to break. Okay, so that is actually it, and I didn't want to take you through too much more. If you want updated day-to-day running commentary, play-by-play, if you will, updated charts, trade ideas, individual names, crypto, metals, and miners, is come join the PPT Discord. We have a wonderful community. We are highly market focused, but we're all about learning and growing together. And that is an opportunity as well coming up for you to join either a $500 account challenge, which is off to a good start, or eventually to think about joining for the launch of my premium service that I'm calling PPT Advantage. So you've got the link to the Discord in the intro and outro of this video. Also I'll put it in the description of the YouTube video. You'll also see it in my bio on Twitter. And leaving you here with the QQQ chart is you can see we are set up for a very big move, and I can't see into the future. and tell you what's going to happen. But just judging by the information that I had at market close based on market structure on Friday, I do think here, telling you this on Friday night, June 23rd, 2023, I do think the resolution here is going to be down. If I am wrong, then I am actually wrong, I think, in a way that is going to be very good news, I hope, joyful to the world, that maybe we do have something of a longer lasting and sustaining peace from a conflict that I think has been very, very unnecessary. But we're going to find out soon, and we're going to find out by Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. Okay, so again, thanks for being with me at PPT and following me on Twitter. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for subscribing to the video. You guys have a wonderful weekend. We'll stay tuned, keep the ear to the ground on the news, and I'll be checking back in with you on Sunday afternoon when futures open.